Okay, ladies and gents, next I'd like to welcome on stage Mr. Malc and Mr. Roger Marshall back on with me, please. Come on, give them a big round. Make the old boys smile. Right, Mal, I think we're up here really just to mull over old times, obviously in the sport, in road racing. Now, obviously I know you two guys were circulating the same kind of era. I'm not sure who was the best rider. You'll probably both tell me different stories, but but obviously happy memories from those days, man.
Yeah, it seems an awful long time ago. I think I was talking to somebody earlier this morning, and Roger and I go back before we even started racing. Roger had a ratty old Norton Dominator, and I had an immaculate one. And we used to meet up at Cadwell, lads from Grimsby and Waltham and from Louth. And we both started racing about the same time, I think.
Back in the early 70s?
30s.
30s. No, obviously, you know, back in those days, times were, well, not for rich boys, obviously, but for most normal people, times were hard, you know, and obviously it was working flat out all week and then shooting back home and trying to get to a race meeting, especially Cadwell Park being the local, to get on with the club meeting when things first got going.
Yeah, I think, Roger will echo this, I'm sure. Looking back, I honestly don't know how we afforded to do it. I had a van, a ratty old CA van, all the rest of the lads at Thames, put market on me. But I used to share the van with a young guy from Market Raising called Keith Hill, who sadly got killed at Cadwell. And he used to give me £1 towards the petrol when we went to Snowton.
No, you know, I think even for my era, when I started racing in '94, but even then, you know, on Supersport bikes, you could just about afford to graft all week, work hard. You had enough money in your pocket and a few mates with a few quid that helped out to get through a race week and then get through a season just about to try and make a bit of a name for yourself and to try and win some races. But you know, these days, just a little dashboard half the size of your little iPad there, you know, costs £2,500 for a race bike. That's without anything else. It costs so much flipping money.
Yeah, I think obviously standard of living's gone up quite a bit since the 30s when we started, but I honestly don't know how the young guys do it today certainly without some financial support. It's just not possible. People tell me stories about the tyre bills. Unbelievable. The guys just can't earn enough to pay for that.
You know, as far as starting out, 2009 when I won the Supersport Championship in the UK, I think I'm not really good on tyres. I don't use qualifiers or anything like that. But just my time bill alone, just for me, without the rest of the team, I think it was £17,500. It's a lot of money out of the budget. That's without the odd little crash.
Yeah, I think the tyre bill is obviously one of the main factors, but you know, you talk about how you did it. Well, I can remember working up in Glasgow through the winter and working from 7 till 11 every day, many hours you want as an electrician, and then the weekend when we started racing as spring come, obviously only club racing then, but the guys I worked with, they were working up there 3 weeks, a month at a time, and I can remember being put on the motorway by one of the electricians I worked with at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and thumbing it home to Grimsby from Glasgow, and that was a regular thing. I thought nothing of it. I'd get home 3 in the morning near Grimsby, Waltham, and just pack the Thames van. I had a luxury van obviously, and you know, drive to Snetterton and Sunday at Cadwell, and then catch a fish lorry or a timber wagon. There was a bloke who owned a timber company opposite me from the fish docks in Grimsby, and then back on the scaffold at 8 o'clock and in Glasgow. But when you want to make something and make it work and you live and dream motorcycles, then even at club level that was the only thing I ever wanted to do, apart from drink of course.
I don't remember that.
Obviously, you're both pretty much, I'm guessing, predominantly two-stroke men, you know, through especially the first part of your careers, I'm guessing. What did you start off on, Mal?
First race, proper race bike was CDG 50. I started down at Norton Commando, which we novelised. A guy I used to work with in Grimsby Parish, we worked together at Freddie Frith, he did the engine for me. Decided to go club racing, see if I liked it, with the ambition to be just to do the Manx Grand Prix just once. So at a season's club racing with the Commando, bought CDG 50 from another good young rider from Grimsby, John Boresbury, and then did the Manx the following year, and then ended up doing 5 Manxes and 16 TTs, I think.
So when was your first visit to the island as a competitor?
As a spectator, 1967 on a day trip. Once I'd seen it, that was it. I had to have an involvement. As a competitor, my memory's not as good as this. 74 Manx Grand Prix, and then I did Manx and the TT right through to 1990.
And obviously it's changed dramatically. Not as far as the circuit's concerned, a few bits and bobs have changed, but the island in general has changed dramatically since then.
Yeah, it changed. I was in an unlucky period, I guess. It changed dramatically. The classes changed to production-based classes, which in a way was good. Meant you could blag a bike from a dealer, you could do a couple of races, maybe earn a few quid and give it back at the end of the TT. But the professionalism of the things changed dramatically in the last few years, and the circuits changed as well. The first time I rode there on the approach to Union Mills, there was an S-bend before you dropped down the hill into Union Mills. Most youngsters like you can't even remember that.
I can't remember the names of the flipping corners. I can't honestly. When we're doing the TV commentary there, me and Whittam will be arguing in the box talking about, where do you think that is in the side? I got a flipping clue. So, as far as modern day issues are concerned, obviously you've both been about and around Joey Dunlop. I was lucky enough to race against Joey and spend some time with him, fortunately, before his accident. But you know, you're both from that era. And obviously Joey won 26 TTs as well as everything else that he achieved in a fantastic career. John McGuinness is now on 20 wins. You know, we had a conversation earlier, Reg, about obviously the depth of field at the TT at the moment. There's quite a few people stopping racing there, you know, new generations coming through. How easy or hard do you think it could be for John to equal, if not beat, Joey's record?
I knew he'd find a way to mention TT wins, Reg. How many TTs did you win, Steve?
2.
How many TTs did you win, Reg?
I never even. No.
And me.
Reg, help me that.
John McGuinness is a phenomenon. John is best bloke in the world, nicest bloke you could ever wish to meet. It tells us he doesn't train, you might know different. On the bike in the island, on the roads anywhere, he's an absolute phenomenon. But the guy's 41 now.
41, yeah.
Another 6 wins is a big ask. There's some good young guys out there now, and I think John would like to equal it. I don't think he would like to beat it.
Yeah, no, I've said to him in the past, you know, if he got to 26, would he just hang his ladders up? And I do believe he would, just as a mark of respect. You know, he's so passionate about the TT. He's kind of, I know he races everywhere else, including the Northwest 200, Macau, as well as messing around on the super stock bike, some short circuit racing in the British Championship. But you know, his heart lays at the TT, and that's it really. And that's all. In all honesty, he's really interested in putting the amount of effort into. You know, as far as that goes, as far as 2013 is concerned, I know Michael Dunlop didn't steal the limelight, he earned it. You know, it was phenomenal what he did, what he achieved. But for me, John was probably the man of the meeting because he dug deep and pulled it back for the senior and earned it. Didn't just ride back and get the result.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Right at the end of the week, after Michael had been so dominant, to come back and beat him fair and square in the senior, I think I did more harm at Michael than John losing the rest of the races.
So So getting away from that, well, I mean, I think it's quite possible. The way things are going at TT and the way the competition at the moment, I think if, you know, Cameron Donald stops, as far as Superbike's concerned, there's no Farquhar, there's no Amore, I'm not there. You know, it's getting a little bit thinner at the moment. It's just been released today that Crutchy and Josh Brooks are not going to be there with Milwaukee Yamaha. So, you know, it's looking like it could be an awful lot easier. Michael Dunlop hasn't even got a ride for next year.
I think the big threat to John comes from, in my humble opinion, Conor Cummins. He'll be on equal machinery, and he's seriously quick round there. And we've not seen the best from William Dunlop either, in my opinion.
I do believe that Williams probably a faster, safer rider than Michael on his day when he's quite clinical, but when everything's right, he's so fast.
I couldn't agree more about William. My wife Emma works for Milwaukee, and I was with her at Cadwell at a test last year when Conor and William were just testing the superbikes, ready for the Northwest, etc., the beginning of the road campaign. And I was obviously spotting and watching a little bit to try and help if I could, and I watched William at the mountain, and we just had a little chat with him and completely changed his line, because I could see he was quick everywhere else. And he went out the next time, and he was within a second of James. He just slashed his time off. He was so smooth. He's so underrated. I just don't believe he believes in himself like obviously Michael's the other way. He believes he could beat Marquez or Rossi or anybody, so you know, that's the difference in brothers. And just going back to John, you know, who would have thought Joey at his age in the year 2000 had won the senior again? I mean, who would have thought he would have won 26 race wins? So yeah, it's certainly possible for John, because he is fired up for the TT, as we know, and that's what he lives and breathes for.
So stepping back a few years from the TT, you know, for you guys, who was your favourite? Obviously, I'm sorry to say neither of you two won, but...
I've just had a thought, Reg. Did you beat Joey around the island?
Yeah, coming back to my island career, which is a little bit pitiful, really, but you know, obviously won the Northwest 2 or 3 times, and Ulster Grand Prix, and had the lap record at 119.91 in the year 82, which was quite a quick time then. So yeah, leading by 30 seconds with 2 laps to go, and you know, lots of things like that. The year Joey and I'll jump the lap bridge, I had a signal last lap. Joey and I were dead on equal time, and I caught Klaus Klein and Mark Johns on the road, and I caught them at the end of Sulby Straight, and I knew I was coming up to my favourite section through Carramore, and I let them go a little bit through Ginger Hall, slowly catching. The last jump out of Carramore, absolutely pinned, and I jumped that high, that footrest my feet come off footrest, knocked it out of gear. Of course, I had all that long straight to go, and then coming up to Glen Tramon, just planning a move again, and Klaus went down in front of me, and it was a right mess. The bike was up the bank, he was in the middle, then on the pavement, and nearly come to a standstill. Luckily missed it all, and I didn't see Mark Johns till the mountain box. I could see him then in the distance, and I was behind him at Glen Tramon, and I lost the race by 9 seconds. So, you know, and I set the fastest lap on the last lap. So, you know, it's just how things go. You know, at least me here to tell the tale, and you know, I had a few good rides.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, the TT's it's not just about the rider. You know, it's the toughest test in the world for man and machine. And you know, years gone by, probably in your guys' era, really, rather than mine. There's an awful lot of bikes that didn't finish the races. You know, but as far as Joey's concerned, he was not luckier, but because he had proper machinery, more reliable factory support, it helped him to get to the end of the race, as well as his phenomenal pace. You know. But you know, it's a tough race on everything, mechanical as well as your body.
Yeah, and when Joey was with Honda and I was his teammate, whoever won the World Championship at the time got the next year's bike. So, and then you got the one handed down. So it was always a tough call, but TT equals things out. And, you know, it's just one of them things. I just hope people like Guy Martin, at least you're a Lincolnshire lad, Steve, and you've won it. And I hope Guy's not going to have the same look as me, because he's still one of the fastest guys out there. And I think this new series he's doing realised that his fitness could be a lot better and not just riding push bikes downhill. So I think it'll make him a better person. Personally, I don't think he trains enough and I don't think he rides enough. So maybe that will give him a kick up the butt and hopefully he'll go on and win it, because I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I think, you know, as far as Guy's concerned, he talks the talk regarding, you know, wanting to win it, but I was his teammate a few years ago, and from then on I soon realised that he wasn't putting 100% effort into achieving his main goal, or what he said was his main goal in life, which was winning the TT. Wouldn't listen to any criticism from experts. I don't know whether you spoke to him, but like with me, Grant, but I wouldn't listen to any advice or take it in and use it. You know, there's only one fall in life, and that's the one that doesn't listen and milk any advice that's given to you.
The first year with, is it AIM AIM Racing at the Ulster Grand Prix, I was watching at certain parts of the course in practice, and to be fair, I went in and I said, like Quarterlands and places like that, the run up to Bador, and I just said, what do you think, boy, as he talks? I said, well, you're not using, you need to use another metre of the road. I said, when I used to come out there, me and Joey, whoever was behind, we were in the grass, because it's such an important run up the hill to Bador. And he looked at me puzzled, and is that what you think? I said, yeah. And then there was somewhere else, and anyway he went out and he actually did take notice, and he come in and he said, that's fantastic, and his lap times come down, and I think he won 4 or 5 races that year, the one on the Thursday night and probably 4 on the Saturday, and you know, it was nice to work with him then, but I think it's gone slightly different now, but he fell out with his dad, and luckily they're back together. So, you know, we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, he's a character, you know, and I enjoy his TV programmes. He does a good job. He's still, as you say, still very, very fast at the TT, and realistically, he's capable of winning as long as the attention span's there for 6 laps in a supercar race, you know. But hopefully he can knuckle down a little bit. In all fairness, you know, to his side, he's earning a very, very good living from the TV stuff, and he probably don't want to risk too much.
I think you probably hit the nail on the head there, Steve, with attention span. You've only got like a guy in the Ulster or Northwest, and where you have to concentrate for a lot less time than you do at the TT. And look at his lap times at the TT, which tail off towards the end. John will still be going just as fast on the last lap as on the second lap. And actually, I was going to tell you about the time I beat Joey at the TT, but I'm not.
Who?
Joey Dunlop. 1986 600 race. I was second and Joey was 4th.
Did he have a problem?
Yeah, me.
No, I was lucky enough to race against Joey just only on the road to Northwest. Yeah, just Northwest 100 actually. But in all fairness to Joey, that wasn't really, the Northwest wasn't really Joey's thing. It's a bit like McGuinness, you know. It was Northwest 100 being a mass start and all elbows and an out-and-out race. It wasn't really Joey's style. He's more of a typical time trial like this. He's obviously racing against the clock.
Having said that, Steve, at the Ulster Grand Prix it was the opposite, you know, it was just that Northwest was a warm-up for him, wasn't it? And he could win it if he wanted to, but yet the Ulster, he would do anything to win it.
Just a complete different character in many, many ways, you know. I remember probably in 1998 or 99 we was down at the Ali Kali show for Honda at the time, and as me and Wolsey Coulter walking the way back from the show, bumped into Joey in Joey had been out on the piss all day long, just on his own, just got fed up being at the show, just wanted to be normal and have a few beers and was wobbling across the road down in central London. But that was Joey.
Yeah, but even being his teammate, he was such a complex character. Like at one time, Barry Simmons, who was the team manager, said, would you travel to some of the away events like World Formula One? And I said, yeah, and share a room with him. So I remember the 2 occasions, Villarreal in Portugal, it was Mick Grant's birthday. And I said, oh, we're going to have a pint with Mick, Joey. He says, aye, okay. So we went to this bar, and of course we had a good night, and then the next thing is Joey decides to do one of his laps in his car with us all in it. And then where we were staying, there was 2 petrol pumps, this hotel, and a little shop. And I can vaguely remember us parking up. And then the next day there was somebody banging on the room and bloke shouting, and I looked out the window and there was a queue of cars, and somehow Joey had parked between both petrol pumps, and all the doors were open and the boot. So I tried to wake Joey up, but no chance. So I found the key, moved the car. It must have had 1,000 facts in it. The glove compartment was open, it was full of money, but this is just typical of Joey. Then Barry Simmons arrived and he went to see Joey and he blamed me for everything. So, and then there was another time I went to his bar, and of course, as you lads know, sometimes he wouldn't even speak to you, but that was just how he was. So I had a couple of pints, a game of pool, it was coming up to close, and I thought, he's not bothered. Just as I was leaving, he said, where are you going? I said, oh, I'm going now. No, you're not. Let's have a game of arrows. So we started playing darts, having a pint. Next thing is it's daylight, and that's just how Joey was.
So Malc, obviously you just told us that you managed to beat Joey once. Your greatest achievement, obviously a long career, 20-year career for you, on short circuit on the roads, but what would you feel you're most content with and your happiest achievement in a racing game?
I think crashing at Hanley's corner and surviving. No, I think that 86 600 race was the best ride, TT, best race I've had in the island. We started in pairs back then and started with Gary Padgett, who would have gone all the way. Gary would have won lots of TTs. We started together on the road and we raced on the road. And Gary, I knew I was quicker through Ilbury in the last lap, passed Gary there. Gary passed me back at signpost corner, all out of control and crossed up, and after that there's nowhere to do it, and he beat me by 1 second. And on the second lap of the race, Joey had started ahead of us. You could see this yellow helmet going on the mountain, and thought, shit, we're going to have to win together, Gary and I, swapping places. We're going to have to pass Joey Dunlop in a minute, which was a very strange feeling. So that's my best racing memory, without a doubt.
Yeah, quite special, I guess, you know. And that was what year?
1986, the year you were born, Steve, I think.
So what? I believe that. And Hanley's, what happened there? What was you on? What was your riding?
Hanley's was Supersport 400, Monday evening practice. It was one TT too many, really. It nearly was. Come into Hanley's, and someone had gone through before me and put a rod through on a 600. The next thing I knew, I'm doing a 120 mile an hour headstand and bouncing down the road, and had the full works, the helicopter ride, and the total TT experience, I call it. But I went back the next year and just exercised the devil and rode like an old woman.
if you don't know where Hanley's is, it's a very, very fast kind of left, right around the wall, and just, yeah, after 11 milestone, it's just somewhere you take a deep sigh of relief every time you get through it, you know, if you manage to get through it. And injury-wise with that, what did you sustain? Were you going to walk away, or was you...
No, the only thing I broke was left wrist and mangled that little finger, which is still mangled. Ripped the ligaments in my ankle, damaged my kneecap, took a load of skin off my back and my bum. There's a funny story attached to that, actually.
Okay.
Eventually got back home to Louth, and I was going up to Louth Hospital every day for physio and having the dressings changed. And the biggest dressing was on my bum, my right buttock. And well, I had a really enthusiastic nurse, whether it was my bum that did it or what, I don't know. But got back home, and you guys know what it's like when you're taking strong painkillers. Going to the loo for a number 2 is quite an experience because they tend to constipate you. Anyway, I suddenly felt the need to go to the loo, rushed into the loo, and then I realised that the nurse had taped both cheeks together. And that's when you find out who your real friends are.
You sprayed it. So, Reg, how many Northwest have you won?
3 Northwest, Steve.
So we've got 11 between us. How many you won, Mal?
None.
No, you was on about Joey a minute ago at the Northwest, but that particular one year it was like, obviously he wouldn't race now, but it was obviously raining and raining well. And on the first lap, Branty was leading, and he come off at Church Corner just after Metropole, up the road, right up to the bridge. And then it was me and Joey for 3 laps. And then obviously Joey decided enough was enough, and next thing I had 30 seconds. And in my last pit board, I was coming into Metropole, and I was 48 seconds in front, coming up to start the last lap. And what did I do? You know where I used to put the tyres out at church? I clipped one of them and ended up in the churchyard. So 48 seconds in the lead and crash. That's not good when you're riding for Honda.
What's your weirdest accident? Or the weirdest speeding?
Definitely just took the lead at Mallory Park, one of these grandstand, whatever they call them, World of Sport races, that was it. Took Aslan, went into the S's at Mallory when it was a proper track, and the barrier was really close then. Lost the front. Next thing is, I wake up vaguely in the medical centre, and I saw Sheeny there, and he said, he used to call me Lodger, Roger the Lodger. All right, Lodger. And I thought I was dreaming it, and then I went out cold again, and then the next thing is Dave Hickman is in the ambulance, both going to Leicester Royal Infirmary, and he was in a bad way for a crash at Gerrard's. And talk about a sobering thought when you're on a stretcher behind him. And I remember that doctor coming up to him and with this nurse, and obviously he didn't like motorbike races, and he looked at him, obviously felt his pulse or something, and said, he's not going to make it, leave him. And I was on this stretcher behind me, and I thought, I've got to get back to Louth Hospital, as bad as it is. But after that accident, it was a week and a half before anybody could convince me that I'd fallen off at Mallory. I told everybody I'd fallen off at Clearways at Brands Hatch, and nobody could convince me otherwise.
Matt, what about you? Weirdest accident? It's funny how your mind works, like, you know, when you're either mid-accident or just after it.
I got a few. I think the most bizarre one, looking back, guy had loaned me a bike to race at Mallory at national meeting, and was running somewhere 6th or 7th or 8th. This guy, and I can't even remember his name now, and Kawasaki Triple came up the inside of me into the hairpin. No way he was going to get down. Laid his bike down, took me down with him, and I'm so desperate to get back on the bike again, but I want to go punch him before. So I'm running over to him, and then I see my tyre mark across the top of his helmet, so I thought I'd best clear off now.
I think mine was at Brands Hatch in '99 for the World Supersport, was in qualifying, and then back in those days in the World Supersport was just a one-lap tyre, you know. But there's always people cruising for the last 10 minutes of the session, just trying to get find a space for a lap or get a tow. And I was on a cracking lap. I was obviously only a wild card on this Honda, and a cracking lap. Come up to Dingledell and caught two touring riders, which was Marigali and Bontempi. On the approach thing, I thought, I'll be all right. Yeah. Sorry, I'll try it. Well, anyway, they showed it on the TV screen all weekend. I went round the outside of them, fell off the side of the bike, was on my knees, hanging on the throttle so I couldn't shut off. Went so hard in the bales in the tyre wall, was knocked out for a few seconds. And then when I come round, all I could hear was the marshal saying, "Where the effing hell's the rider?" Well, it was black. I couldn't see anything. I was kind of blacked out. I was awake, but kind of was blacked out. And I honestly thought I'd gone through the tyre wall into the trees and was dead. And that was it. That was my time out, gone. And then within a few seconds, they pulled all the bales off my head and I could see again. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was shouting and screaming, so happy to be alive.
Most embarrassing one was that, before anybody else brings it up, was on the Skull Bandit Suzuki at Cadwell. Called it the Beast, and it would even wheelie through the dip at Cadwell going down the back straight. It was only a bit of a road bike engine, 1100 that Nigel Everett built for me, just to do the Super 1 series as it was then. And I'd got pole position and it started to spit with rain, so I thought, oh yeah, that's alright, job done. There's a bee on the last lap, come out of Barn Corner, yeah, flag was out, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th, going over the start and finish. I was going to go all the way down the straight, but I looped it just outside, just on the start and finish, and you don't realise how freaking fast you're going. And the bike, it made just where you start to go up the hill to Coppice, and I hit the bank at the mountain, and I laid there and I knew I was alright, but I thought I'm not getting up, and I thought I'll let them put me on the stretcher, this is so embarrassing. And I remember my mechanic Nigel and Rex White up at the top where he used to do the timing, and Rex says, oh my god, somebody's tipped the bike over backwards, and then Everett, because it was his bike, he went, yeah, it's my effing bike, and that silly sod on it. So but we still went out and did the business.
I thought he was going to tell us the one about when he was a sidecar racer, because he keeps that a bit quiet, unless you nudge him.
No, we had a quick chat.
Tell us about Park Corner.
Yeah, I did tell that earlier when you were out walking the dogs. So I think everybody was here and heard that, but there was so many with the sidecar because it wasn't really built to race. It was, as I said before, you know, I was an electrician and it was taped together really. I mean, if there's a crack in the frame, we taped it. So, you know, I mean, the only race we ever won on it, and it went an extra lap at a club meeting at Cadwell, and I thought it was handling funny. And anyway, we came round Mansfield on the last lap, got the checkered flag at the club race, and we were both patting each other on the back, and all your mates are in that little grandstand at the airplane, and we were giving it all a big wave, and we turned to go up the mountain at Cadwell, and you're in kneeling trays, aren't you, on the outfit, and the swinging arm on the back